continuing our examples of graphing quadratics in vertex form. So now, if you look over here, I put down the vertex form of the equation. If I look over here in this example, my A is 1 again, so I'm just going to write that for the point of reference. And now my H is 3. My K is 0. It's not written here, therefore it's 0. All right, so in terms of my vertex, it is always the point HK. So in this case, we have the point 3, 0. Now this is probably the really only confusing thing about this. Notice that the formula says that it's x minus h, and then by definition the vertex is HK. So this number right here is what we use to plot our vertex. So this negative, this subtraction, is part of the formula. That's important. All right, let's set up my table over here to keep track of my points. Okay, now I need to find the y-intercept. And we talked in the last video about how the y-intercept happens when x is equal to 0. So I'm going to plug that into my equation. So y is going to equal negative 3 squared, which is 9. So now I have another point at 0, 9. Now I need to find my x-intercepts, and those happen when y equals 0. So 0 equals x minus 3 squared. So the square root of 0 is 0. And so then x equals positive 3. So we're only going to have one x-intercept. And this should make sense because this is the same as our vertex. And so our vertex here is going to be at 3, 0, and A is positive, so this is going to be opening up. So there's only one place that this function is going to touch the x-axis. The next thing I need to do is find some additional points here. So remembering that we have symmetry on either side of the vertex, I'm going to pick my points. So I'm going to pick 1, 2, I already have 3 and 4. That'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. All right, good. So I may have a little trouble in terms of how big this is on my graph. Let's see here. So 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared, 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 squared is 1. All right, so let's see here. So I've got my 3, 0, 0, 9, and then 1, 4, and 2, 1, and then here I have 4, 1, and just to make that point about symmetry, 5 should be 5, 4. So I'm going to plug that in real quick, again, making a point about symmetry here, and double check. So 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Okay, we've got some symmetry, and we need to use that to help us. All right, so my axis of symmetry goes through my vertex and is at the point x equals 3. My parabola is opening up. A is positive. Therefore, my vertex is a minima. Okay, next example. Go ahead and go on to this one. All right, so now we finally have an example where we have both an H and a K already in the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this problem, and I'm in I'm in vertex form here. So my vertex is going to be 4, 2. Again, remembering that that negative is part of the original equation. So I'll make my table. And now I need to find my y-intercepts. My y-intercepts happen when x equals 0. So I'm going to plug that in. 0 minus 4 squared plus 2. 4 squared is 16 plus 2 is going to be 18. So I've got the point 4, 2 for my vertex, and then I've got the point 0, 18 for my y-intercept. Now for my x-intercept, y equals 0. So again, I'm going to plug in. Okay, and now we need to talk about this. Okay, we got a little bit of a problem here. Notice that right now that I've moved this 2 to the other side, I have that something squared equals -2. This cannot happen. Anything squared becomes positive. Can't be negative. Okay, so that means there's no solution here, which means there is no x-intercepts. No x-intercepts. Okay, and this makes sense. Let's look at what we have so far for our graph. We have our vertex at 4, 2. And A is positive. Our A is a positive 1 here, so we know we're opening up. So it makes sense that we do not have any x-intercepts because there's no place that this is going to touch the x-axis. All right, we need to plug in some other points. So I'm going to use 2, 3, and 5. That'll give me my 5 points. So 2 minus 4 is 2 squared. 4 plus 2 is 6. 3 minus 4 is -1 squared plus 2 is 3. And then 5 minus 4 is 1 squared is 1 plus 2 is 3. Again, that symmetry is helping me out. So I'm going to go ahead and plot here. So 0, 18 is up here off my graph. 2, 6 will be right here. And then 3, 3. And 5, 3. And guess what? If I plug in 6, it's going to be 6. Because 6 minus 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, plus 2 is 6. Symmetry. Okay. My axis of symmetry is where x equals h. It's that middle line that goes down through the vertex. And so in this case, it's x equals 4. My parabola is opening up because my A is positive, so that means my vertex is a minima.